Hello and welcome to Biz Buzz with Bruno. I'm your host, Michael Bruno. And of course, it's always brought to you by the wonderful madstheater.com. And we're here today with Monkey Business Institute with the lovely and talented Kelly Maxwell and the even more lovely and talented Brad Knight. Thank you both for coming and enjoying this beautiful Saturday with us.
Michael, I don't know if I'm lovelier than Kelly, but...
You're super lovely.
Super lovely. So first of all, a lot of people know about Monkey Business.
Yeah.
A lot of people have heard about Monkey Business, but they may not know the people behind the curtain of Monkey Business. So Brad, since you're one of the original people that started this, tell us a bit about yourself and how you got to be in that position.
Sure. So I always did theater on the side. I grew up in Wausau. But I could never pull the trigger to become a theater major. I kept bouncing around in majors. I ended up with a psychology degree, but I always loved performance. So when I came down to Madison to finish college, I was introduced to this group called Comedy Sports. And if you're familiar with Comedy Sports, it's like a competitive improv company where we had teams and we competed tongue-in-cheek for points. I did that for about 12 years, fell in love with it. And when they folded in 2001, some of them went off to form Atlas Improv. Mm-hmm. And then just a month or two after that, Jason Stevens and myself formed Monkey Business Institute. And this is our 20th year. So
wow, 20 years. Man, time goes by fast, doesn't it?
I know, yeah.
So originally, where were your first performances at? Were they always at? They weren't always at Glass Nickel.
No, we've been at Glass Nickel for I think about 15 years now. But yeah, our original shows were at the West Side Club.
I know that well.
Yeah.
Queen Anne's at the West Side
That's
Club.
right. Yeah. So that was where our first shows were. We bounced around a few different places. We performed at J.T. Whitney's.
The first place I saw you was at the Coliseum.
At the Coliseum Bar.
Oh, yep.
We were there for several years until they got bought out by someone else.
You took my suggestion of Optimus Prime. For the game of Guess What?
Awesome.
And I was like, I have to do that.
Yeah. That's probably when Matt Sloan and Aaron Yonda were in it. Yeah. So, and then, we looked around for a home and we ended up at Glass Nickel after that. So they've been really great to us. Yeah.
That's very cool. I love the fact that you can do improv and pizza. I mean,
right.
That's two of my favorite things in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about how many people are involved in the company now.
Yeah.
You have a huge group of people now.
It's about 30 people.
Wow.
Yeah, and I would say 15 to 20 play very regularly. And then we have, people who come around once in a while. But
it comes and goes at any given time. There's usually 15 to 20. Someone's might be having a baby or like being in a play or whatever, right. And then they'll come back when they're ready.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a real tight-knit group. So, for a theater company, we neither have very much melodrama nor do we have much turnover. So a lot of us have been playing together for over 10 years, which I think really it shows in the shows, It shows how close we are. So,
sure.
Yeah.
So Kelly, tell us a little bit about, you and I go way back theater-wise, but so what's your background?
Softball.
A beautiful segue.
I was an athlete in high school, but also loved to sing in choir. And then wasn't till I was a young adult, like in my independent life, that I auditioned for a play. My first play ever was Walmartopia back in 2003, 2005-ish. And then I did a lot of community theater in Madison, mostly with Mercury and Broome Street. But we worked together in Are We Delicious, right. I think is where we met.
Yeah.
And I did a lot of shows with that group. And I had traveled to Los Angeles and seen an improvised musical. And it was one of those moments where I was like, my body was cold and I was like sweating and I was like, I have to do that. It just blew my mind. And so I came back and signed up for level 1 at Monkey Business. And Brad was like, a lot of actors find a lot of satisfaction in improv. I think you could make the switch.
Yeah.
And I did.
And a lot of actors that don't have improv, I've always been amazed. It's that you need to take an improv class.
Yeah.
You really do, because it's the most out there thing you can do other than stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
Which is just you.
Right.
It's just you and the audience.
At least with improv, you usually have backup, right?
Exactly. But I think everybody that's involved in the acting side of it should at least take a class or just do improv. 'Cause I just think it helps you as an actor
Absolutely.
immensely.
Yeah. And there are a lot of actors that I found are afraid of improv.
Sure.
Because they're so used to the routine of scripted theater, right?
Yep.
So in some actors, it terrifies them, but it is such a complementary skill set, you know? So, yeah, I love both scripted and improvised theater, but of course, you know, my life career has been improv, so.
I was dealing with a lot of pre-performance stage fright anxiety and audition anxiety, and I found that once I started taking improv classes, it disappeared. You know, it's just because you have to be comfortable with the feeling of you might fail at any second, and you have to be okay with that. And it's taught me that.
And it's also really interesting because, you know, you come out as you.
Yeah.
You come out as Kelly, and then you have all these different people that you get to portray within the improv. So you have to be really comfortable with standing naked on the stage and say, okay, I'm going to do this.
Absolutely.
And then you have all these other opportunities to play with everybody and play those games. Whereas if you have a script, you're that person from the minute the curtain goes up.
Right.
Kelly, you know, goes away, and everybody, you know, that person is not supposed to be being seen at all.
You said something really important to me after a show once. I was giving myself a note that I was like, oh, I played like crap or something like that. And you said, you know, when you say that about your improv, you're saying that about yourself and who you are, because what comes out of you is very unfiltered and true, ideally. And I think of that a lot.
Yeah, and you know, you can't really do good improv if you're not willing to open yourself up and be vulnerable and, you know, let in other ideas. If you stay closed off, improv doesn't really work. So
So does Monkey Business work like Second City? So do you have people that come in and take classes and then different levels, and then you ask them to become members of the company, or do people audition just to come right into the company?
Yes.
Good. And thank you. We'll see you next week.
We do both. So I would say early on, the vast majority of our performers came through our classes. And these days, it's kind of a mixed bag. Like we hold auditions occasionally. Some people come from other places with a lot of experience and they make it into our troupe. And then some people have been trained by us and make it in. We actually plan on holding auditions. This isn't a public announcement yet, but I'm going to say it right here. We're planning on holding auditions in late January, everyone. So, yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So now, and you have different companies that do different things. I know you have a kids company that does the shows that are specifically designed for kids. You have your regular shows that you do, your nighttime, evening shows.
Yeah.
And then you also have classes. So do people bounce between all those? Or do they find their little niche in one little thing? It's like, okay, I'm just gonna do the kiddie shows because I like doing the kiddie shows.
Sure. Yeah.
Or do you encourage them to do everything?
So our regular shows are Saturdays at Glass Nickel. We have an all-ages show at 5:30, a grown-up show at 8. That's kind of a mix of all of our people. Whoever wants to play those can play, and it's just who's available this week, and we make a cast out of that. And those are called short-form improv, which is like what you see on Whose Line Is It Anyway? So there's games. We play different games, and then when the games are over, we do something else, right? We have other shows that are called long-form improv, which rather than being separate games, they're sort of a format of a show. So, for instance, Kelly can speak to this.
Yeah.
There's a group of our women improvisers who do a show called Yes, Ma'am.
And that,
Instead of yes and, very clever. Aren't you
Thank
clever?
You. Yes, it's so clever. That's exactly right. But a long form show, instead of at the top, we know that we're going to play like these 8 games in the show. Instead of that, in a long form show, we'll start out at the top, some way of getting a suggestion, and then we use that suggestion throughout. It can be more narrative or a montage of scenes and characters. Yeah.
We do another long form show called The Music Department, where we improvise a 90-minute musical, usually just from a title. So
Very cool.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite things about Whose Line is when they would do the musical.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's tough.
Yeah.
I mean, you really have to think on your feet. You have to do a rhyming scheme. You have to be able to hold that tune in there. Yeah, I love that part of it. That's really very
It's the funnest.
And you have some amazing musicians in your
We
company
really
now,
do.
too.
Yeah.
You've got some really high-class piano players and musicians.
Mm-hmm.
in
Yeah,
this.
Andrew Rohn is fantastic. Brandon Jensen is great.
And are they in every? Do they play every show? Do you have a musical accompanist at all the shows, or just the ones when you do the long form or a musical show?
Yeah, so that one show I was talking about, music department, we always have an accompanist for that. But then when our keyboardists are available to play with us, then we do short form musical shows.
Like tonight,
Yeah,
we're going to do a short
we
form
are.
musical show.
A spooky short form musical show.
Is it your Halloween special?
It
show?
is. It is.
And that's Class Nickel, right?
Yeah, that's a class.
Two shows? Mm-hmm. Yay. And then you also do the kids show in the Rotunda, right?
We do.
And when is that happening?
That's on October 30th. We have a show at, I believe it's 3:45 and 4:45? No, 4 and 5 o'clock p.m. At the Rotunda at the Overture Center. So we're going to dress in costumes for that and do some spooky games and have fun with the kids.
So do you have audience participation in those with the kids?
Yes.
Absolutely.
That must be terrifying and wonderful at the same time.
Right.
It's the
Yeah, you
best.
absolutely do not know what you're going to get. Sometimes the kid will be eagerly volunteer for a game, and then when they get on stage, they freeze up.
It's just like-
And then usually, what that happens, we just clap for them and say thanks for coming up, and then we get someone else. So yeah.
I took a risk last week and got a very, very little volunteer for the game of Spelling Bee. And he got a little nervous once we started, and then we reminded him, look, you can't be wrong. Everything you say is right. And then
Then he wouldn't stop
just
laughing. He was having so much fun.
He just shone like the
Yeah.
brightest little star. Camden was his name, I think. Oh my gosh. Yeah. They play with us. It's great.
Comedy Sports was really good training because that show is always family friendly. We used to have this thing called the brown bag foul. When you said something naughty, you had to wear a brown paper sack over your head. So those of us who kind of came out of that tradition were well trained to do our all ages friendly shows. And so you can have it either way, right? You can come see something where we won't say anything offensive.
Right.
Or, our later shows, we don't intentionally go blue, but
Right.
if the audience leads us there, that's where we'll go, So, yeah.
And Comedy Sports actually started, was it in Chicago? And then a branch
Actually,
came in?
Milwaukee is where it
Milwaukee,
started.
that's right,
Yep.
Milwaukee.
Yeah, and Madison was the second one.
And did people from Milwaukee come to Madison to start that, or did Madison just start their own, saying, we want to do this in Madison?
Yeah, Milwaukee actually came to Madison to start up Comedy Sports. It was the second one ever. And I think the only one that was sort of owned by a different city. After Madison, it was all franchised. So Madison was always under the umbrella of Milwaukee. But if you want a little history lesson,
You
basically,
always want history
Always.
lessons.
basically what happened is they left us alone for years, and we sort of started doing our own style without them looking over us. And then one day, the owner of Milwaukee, Dick Chudnow, came up and said, "What are you guys doing? Like, we're going to come up and retrain you." And that's when everyone walked. They're like, "We don't want to do it that way," and they walked. And that's how you got Atlas and Monkey Business Institute. Wow.
And
Yeah.
they're both still going strong
They
today.
are.
And when did Comedy Sports start here? Do you remember the year?
I believe it was 1985.
1985.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And and a lot of the guys that started it, they were my idols. I used to watch them when I wasn't in Comedy Sports yet and watch their shows. And people like Mike Rock, if you remember him. Mike Rock and Josh Lewis just came back and played a show with us, actually. And
Wow.
yeah,
See, and I was gone when that all started.
yeah,
Because of course, being the old man that I am, Harry and Bruno, at way back in the 70s,
Sure.
we were doing, the first one was doing two-man stand-up improv at the old Washington Hotel in the Barbers
Really?
Closet.
Oh, awesone.
So that started in 1978 when I
love
first
the
came
Barbers
back.
Closet.
First time I came back from LA.
Cool.
And there was the only thing close to it was Kentucky Fried Theater.
Right.
That was the kind of what we kind of based that on. But we thought,
Yeah.
okay, we're going to do, and doing improv with just two people.
Yeah.
Really, you have to cut your teeth on that because we were teaching the audience, how to do, how to, you yell out,
give
yell out a word,
suggestions.
yell a suggestion,
Yeah.
yell freeze if you want us to stop. Then we would build our own first set with the skits we would have. and then the second set would open it up for audience suggestions.
That's kind of like a Second City model.
Right,
So you
exactly.
would scripted
Yes,
sketches
yes.
the first.
Yeah,
Wow, that's
exactly.
really cool.
So we did that for until I left for California in 1983.
And Comedy Sports
Wow.
has its roots in Kentucky Fried Theater. That's where Dick Chudnow came from. Yep. Yeah, so that's cool.
Yeah.
I don't know if you knew this, but the Arc has started back up.
No, I did not know
Yeah,
that.
Dennis Kern is running workshops and I think
Wow.
looking to do some shows. So, yeah.
That's so cool.
He even predates Comedy Sports.
That does predate. I think they were they around when we were doing it? I can't remember. No, they must have been because it was 1978. But where did they start performing? Do
They
you
had
remember
a
where they
place on West
performed?
Mifflin, didn't they?
For a while, yeah.
Well, they were at Broome Street, did they? Were they at Broome Street?
I don't know where they started, honestly, but yeah.
If anybody knows, write in and tell us where did Arc Improv first start performing.
You should come play with us sometime.
That would be so much fun.
Yeah.
I would love to do that again. I had so much fun doing
We love
that.
guests.
Yeah, that's so cool. So you had hinted before, I don't know if this is public knowledge or not, that you're looking for alternate venues to be like a permanent home maybe for their company. Is that right?
Well, we're always looking to expand, right? Right now we're pretty set on our Saturday nights. They're going pretty well, but we're always looking to have other places that we perform other nights, either weekly or monthly or quarterly. So yeah, there's a few places that we're going to be having shows coming up. Would you like me to talk about them?
It's absolute. That's what you're here.
Why
That's
don't you
what we're
start
here
with your
for.
show?
Yeah, talk about your show, Kelly.
I'm starting a show next month. I'll be hosting at the Gamma Ray Bar downtown. Are you familiar with that space? It used to be the Frequency.
Right.
Now it's owned by Kevin Wilmot. It's a great vibe in there, and they've got a lovely stage. So first Thursdays of the month, it'll be a community improv show. Anyone with experience can sign up on the website and put a team in, and I'll let you know if you're in. It's kind of first come, first serve. First Thursdays, 90-minute improv at Gamma Ray. It's called The Get Up.
Cool. And you also, sorry.
No, I was going to say it's always going to be improv followed by karaoke, so you can make a
you
whole
can't
night
go
of
wrong
it.
there. You cannot go wrong there. But you also do corporate events too, right? I mean, businesses can hire you out to do their Christmas shows, their holiday shows, their anniversary shows.
We both entertain and educate. So yeah, we can do shows for any organization really. We also do things called play shops where we teach organizations improv skills. We're actually certified with Wisconsin State Bar as continuing education for lawyers.
Wow, that's such a great thing. Oh my gosh, that is such a great thing. I've always said that.
Yeah.
I've always said that lawyers should be taking improv classes or doing
They're
some kind-
performers.
They are performers.
Yeah.
Of course
You
they
said
are.
you think every actor should take. I mean, the skills apply to being a human
totally.
being,
Yeah.
and it's improved every aspect of my life.
We work with teachers and healthcare people, salespeople. It's really applicable to all kinds of stuff. Speaking of the Gamma Ray, we have a show called The Merge, which is one of our most popular shows, where we bring in stand-ups. They do their set, and then we come in and improvise off that material. And then we play improv games with them at the end. So
Wow, that's so cool.
It's really fun.
Yeah.
That's going to be the third Thursdays.
third Thursdays
Gamma
in
Ray.
November, or third Thursdays of the month starting in November at Gamma Ray. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, you said you have all these certifications. Now, do you franchise Monkey Business out? Are there going to be other monkey businesses around the world?
That hasn't happened yet, but I'm not opposed to the idea.
But you do. I mean, but it is. You obviously you own it, right?
Yes.
Is it you solely, or do you have other people that they're
Right
your
now, it's
partners?
me solely. Yeah, there have been different owners, like Jason and I started it, and there've been different different permutations. But yeah, at the moment, I own it. Been thinking for a long time about opening a nonprofit branch so we can do more community-based stuff and get some grants for that. So
Great idea.
that's hopefully coming up in the future. Mm-hmm.
That's so cool. Yeah, because didn't Are We Delicious? Is there more than one Are We Delicious now? Wasn't Tony talking about?
I don't think
Before-
that has happened.
It hasn't
but
happened.
Stacey
Before-
Grabarski's running it now
Right,
here in
yeah,
town.
right.
Yeah.
I think Tony actually trained a location, but then I don't know what happened with it.
okay.
I think it was a location in Texas, if I remember right.
What?
Yeah.
But I remember talking before Tony left. I
Yeah.
think we were talking. I think we went and did an Ari Delicious when they were at the Bartell,
Uh-huh.
and then he did something with Stage Q, and he was talking about that happening then. And then family things came up, and they moved
Right.
out of town, and life gets in the way as it always does.
Yeah.
And then Stacy, we had on. We were talking, and I said, "Has anything happened with that?" And she's like, "We're kind of just here now, but."
You never know.
Texas is working on itself.
Well,
Right.
God only knows. Texas and Florida should just merge and go out in the middle of the ocean somewhere. And not that I wanted to get political at all. Where would you eventually like I say, you now have the business.
Yeah.
Where do you see it like in 5 years from now? How do you plan? Do you plan on expanding it? Do you plan on making it into a bigger company? Would you like it to be a bigger company?
Yeah. I mean, I always want some kind of growth. You know, that what I want is I want people in our company to feel like there's so many creative opportunities there that they, are sick to their stomach with it. So, I think one of the things that's hard as a solo owner is there's so much to do that it's hard to be good at any one thing. So someday I would like to see maybe someone else running the business side of things, and I focus on the creative. I can see that happening. I can see us having a road company where we tour. So my first job out of college was at American Girl, which was then Pleasant Company.
Ah, yes.
And I've always wanted to work up the courage to go talk to Pleasant Rowland and say, will you open an improv mecca building for us where all improv in the Madison area can come, and that's where you see improv. I think that is my ultimate dream, to have that.
I mean, really,
Pleasant, if you're watching, and I know you are.
anyone that has a spare hot few mil hanging around, you're welcome to build that for us.
You remember me, Pleasant? I started your overseas shipping department.
Hey, between Pleasant and Jerry, the Overture Center wouldn't be here.
Right.
We wouldn't have that.
Oh, they're
building
wonderful
if it wasn't
with
for
the
them.
arts. Yeah.
That's what we're talking about, trying to find other venues, because people in our troupe always have ideas for I have this idea for a musical long form show I'd love to try out, but we just don't have a regular space to build those ideas. So
traveling comedians always contact us and say, "Can we do a show at your venue?" It's like, well, we don't
have a
we don't
venue.
really have control over our venue, So we're going to be doing some shows kind of in your neck of the woods here soon. We're working with Seminole Tap.
Where's that?
That used to be Funk's Pub before the pandemic.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Oh sure.
We'll be
that's
doing
a beautiful stage.
Yeah, they have a really nice raised stage. We'll be
That's
doing some shows in December there.
very cool. And I hear through the grapevine that Babes, remember Babes?
I do remember
Is
Babes.
now going into Vitens.
Oh, okay.
So, but I don't know. Then that's a huge space in
The
Vitens.
golf place?
Yeah, they have it's a big. It's not really connected to the golf course part of it, but they have a banquet room, and they have food, and they have all this. And I guess I just saw now that the guy that ran Babes.
That was on Schrader Road, right?
Right.
We did shows there for a while.
Yeah.
Yes, we did.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep. So that may be another. But
Yeah.
that I'm always impressed by how many companies Madison has grown into for the size it was back in the day when there were maybe
Yes.
5.
Yeah.
And now there's and it's always where the space. There
Yep.
aren't enough spaces for everybody. And you can't find rehearsal space this town to
Yep.
save your life.
Yeah.
You can't find a place, like you said, be a dedicated space unless you
Yeah.
have a ton load of money. Or let's just say, if you become a nonprofit,
Yeah.
you can apply for the grants. You can apply for things where you can hopefully get some
We've
money
got
coming in.
My Arts now, which
My
is
Arts is- that's a
lovely.
great
and,
space.
I mean, they focus on youth group, but we've had a couple rehearsals there. They open it up to grown-ups sometimes.
Yeah.
And then also the Wisconsin Youth Symphony Orchestra building has rooms.
Isn't that a beautiful
My son's
building?
in YSO.
That is
I haven't been inside yet.
So gorgeous.
That's such a beautiful
And
building.
they encourage people to rent their rooms as
They
well.
do? Oh,
for rehearsal.
wow.
It's about the same rate as My Arts, but yeah.
Yeah, a few years ago, I was invited to start teaching improv at PTC.
CTM.
CTM. Sorry.
all
PTC is
initials.
an acronym we use.
Yeah, just pick a couple letters.
Yeah, ABR. at CTM. It's been a really good experience. So.
And they're a resident at
Yeah.
My Arts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
People in Madison doing cool stuff.
Yeah.
And the thing I always love about that is, like you say, is like people can branch in and do and collaboration with different companies that have different strengths, and you can find, you can, like you say, you can bounce around and do things with different
Yep.
companies and do things that is a great opportunity.
I love being a creative artist, performing artist in Madison. It's the perfect size.
Yeah.
I feel like if I want to do a play, I can do a play somewhere. If I want to do improv, I can. If I want to play with my band, I can find a place. And people will come and watch.
Right.
People in Madison are cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of cool people, Madison, you're working with Beth Killey.
I am.
How great is that?
It's pretty great.
And what's the project you're working on? Is it one project, or is it a band?
We formed a band. We're
Like Beth Killey doesn't have enough bands right now.
Right.
What is this, number 25, Beth? And you're 25
Yeah.
bands?
We're
Between her and Kelly,
we're a
there's like
Taylor
100
Swift
bands.
tribute called
I
the Eras
love
Encore
it.
Band, and we're playing at My Arts on November 10th.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
See, again, it's like, worlds
Yeah.
collide and worlds meet.
Yeah.
What was the name of you? Because you wrote a musical, didn't you?
Oh my gosh, yeah, a long time ago.
That was the one. That was when I was first doing Bruno's Best. I
Yeah.
think, when I first talked about that. I can't
It was
remember.
called Held, a musical fantasy.
That's it. God,
I
that was
wrote-
so cool.
Oh, thank you. I wrote the book and lyrics, and Megan Rose wrote the music, and yeah.
And that started as an Are We Delicious, right?
It sure did.
Yeah, that's right. Is that ever going to come back out of the woodwork sometime?
It was performed at Fringe, New York, and at the New York Musical Festival, NYMF. And I didn't want to work to make it go any further, and Megan has written other things. She wrote a musical called Xena, the Warrior Musical.
Oh, love
The
it.
Lost Scroll. But yeah, she's doing other stuff.
And is she in New York, or is she
She's in-
Madison?
she's in
New York.
Brooklyn, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I do remember that. It was
Yeah.
so great. I love it.
Haven't thought about that in a while.
Nice. So what haven't we talked about that you wanted to like let people know about?
There's a few things. We do stuff other than just your classic improv shows.
There you go.
We do improvised murder mysteries.
How fun is that?
We often do them at Lone Girl Brewing in Wanakee.
Uh-huh.
So we're trying to get another one going there soon. We can come to your place and do a game show. We do.
You're talking about all my old shows.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Sweet Cannoli Nuptials,
Sweet Cannoli.
the game show.
Yep.
Very cool. I love that.
I got hired at least once to do a singing telegram at an office building. I had to dress up like an old woman, bring a guitar, just walk into this office full of strangers in their cubicles and pretend like I had booked the room for a rehearsal, and then just started singing to the birthday person.
I love it. That's somewhat of how I made my living when I first moved to LA. I was doing singing telegrams as Pavarotti.
Oh my God.
That's great.
When I had dark beard and dark hair.
Wow.
Yeah, that was that was in the 80s. That was a big gig out there.
I have a long history of singing telegrams too.
Yeah. Wow. Love it.
Yeah, so I mean, the great thing about the talent that we have in our group and improv training is that if you have an oddball out of their idea and you don't know who to go to, we're the great place to go because we can pretty much work with anything. If you want some kind of character appearance, like we got hired once to be characters from Back to the Future at a wedding party.
We've been hired to do like a Cirque du Soleil flash mob at a conference.
Yep.
Or to just be like party starters, like plants at a party to make it fun.
Yeah.
And you got people like Jason who can do every voice in the world.
gosh.
Absolutely.
He's amazing.
Astounding.
He's
Yeah.
incredibly talented and
amazing.
such a good improviser.
Yeah, and that's the beauty is, we have people coming from various backgrounds. Who some come from classical theater, some come from, voice acting, some come from music. So
Stand up.
yeah, we just have a really great hodgepodge of talent. Just such a talented pool of people, and they're lovely too. We all get along really well.
Speaking of which, and I'm going to play devil's advocate, have you ever had somebody come in that was just like, go back to McDonald's because you need a whole other career choice? How do you deal with that, or have you had to deal with that?
It's not easy.
Yeah.
I would say in our 20-year history, that's happened about 3 or 4 times.
That's a pretty good odds.
Usually people have to go through such a long vetting process just to make sure that they want us to be their home and that we fit well with them. So people go through a long series of performance track classes. That's what PTC is. And a period of probation before they're fully in the troupe to avoid that kind of situation, because that's not fun for anybody.
That was always my biggest nightmare, is that you get into a company like that and there's something that think, oh yeah, I can do that, and they get up there like,
yeah.
It's it's a lot better place these days for that kind of thing because number one, our classes are going really strong, so. Our teachers see these people over the course of a couple of years as they take our classes and see who they are as people. And then, those who did not take our classes, improv has become so widespread now that you can talk to someone and they say, oh, I was in this troupe for X number of years, and you just look up the troupe's webpage and you see they're established, and you've probably got a good person, right? So it didn't used to be that way. Back when I started, people didn't even know what improv was.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a better world for improv these days for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And then do you have different levels of classes? Do people the different amounts of time they spend and different levels of what their aptitude is?
Yeah. So we, for short form improv, we have 5 levels. And we, just about a year and a half ago, we started teaching also levels of long form improv. And then there's special topics like musical improv, or we teach classes on character work or accents or things like that. And so some people dabble, take 1 or 2 classes and they're done, and some get hooked and they take a dozen
Take
classes.
levels 1 through 5 and then start at the beginning and do it again, and maybe get a different teacher and learn different things. And we have the greatest students that take classes at Monkey Business too.
And is there age limits? Do you do kids, or is it adults and up?
We teach kids camps, and occasionally we have people who say, my child is 13 years old and wants to join the adult class. Is that okay? And we say, if it's okay with you, it's okay with us. Actually, our accountant, her 13-year-old son saw a show recently and asked if he could start taking adult classes with us. Yeah.
Aww.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. We did a really awesome show last weekend Jess Shuknick.
Oh, yeah.
It was his 25th improv anniversary. So he did 2 shows that Saturday called Jess and. And so the show that I was in was a retrospective show. So he had a group from his Comedy Sports days and a group from his Atlas days, because he actually started with Atlas, and then a group from his Monkey Business Institute days. And so I got to play in the Comedy Sports show with several people that I hadn't played with in years. So it was a real blast.
Wow.
And yeah, so Paul Guzzi, his I don't know if you know Paul, he does Smarter Than You trivia.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he used to do Comedy Sports, and his son saw him for the first time on an improv stage and said, I want to do that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, and Jess and I go way back to the old Civic Center. We both worked in the box office before the Overture was even created.
Yeah.
When they decided they were going to start building the Overture, and I think Bob's name. Bob was the box office manager. Said that we had to start wearing hard hats to work, and I was like,
hilarious.
I quit.
Yeah.
I'm moving on. I don't think I'd feel comfortable about having to wear a hard hat to work in a box office.
You've been getting people into theater your whole life.
Yeah,
whether
truly.
selling them tickets or
When I first that was our first job when I first came back from LA to take care of my mom back then, and the first job I got was at the old Civic Center, working in the box office.
Yeah, Jess goes way back. The mayor even proclaimed that day Jess Shuknick Day.
Yeah, good for him.
October 8th.
Yep, good for him.
Henceforth, let it be known. We all will celebrate Jess Shuknick Day.
Exactly. Cool. This has been so great, and I really, really enjoy getting to know more about the company, number one, and more about you guys, because I've always been an admirer of both of your talents. So, Monkey Business Institute, you have a website.
Yep.
You're also on Facebook.
We are.
You can. Does Glass Nickel also have? Is that how you get tickets to Glass Nickel, or do you have to get tickets?
You would want to go through our website,
website.
but I think the nickel links us. So, yeah, go through our website, monkeybusinessinstitute.com.
There's information about classes, private bookings, all of our public shows.
Mm-hmm. And you also have the shows at the Overture will be at the Overture.
I think you should give us a taste of what this is all about. We have three really talented folks in the room. What do you say?
Okay, well, you're not a talk show. You're the host. We're the guests. Go.
What's the topic?
The topic is
Benjamin.
Yeah, Benjamin.
Give
So
us
what's the
a
topic?
suggestion of something that you wrote a paper about once in school.
The Capitol building.
The Capitol building.
All right, everyone. I would like to welcome you back to What's New in Madison. I'm your host, Brad Knight, and today we have some very special guests on. We have Fighting Bob LaFollette over here, and we have former Governor Dewey Nelson. Tell us what you know about the Capitol.
You're not allowed to climb to the top of the outside of the Capitol building.
Yeah, that would be illegal. Absolutely.
Right. And don't look at the frescoes to try to find the naked people because they're there.
They're there, but you're not supposed to look at them.
That's very, very true.
If you want to find something, you can look for that fossil. The big fossil on the stairway, right?
You're not supposed to talk about the fossil.
Oh, whoops.
If you never hear from Brad Knight again, it's because he mentioned the fossil on the stairs
I'm
of
going to be
the
off by
Capitol
Fighting Bob
building.
LaFollette, I think.
Because, that belonged to the Walker family.
Oh!
We don't like to talk about the Walker family in Madison anymore.
Can we edit that out?
This is live.
I love it.
Ding, 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 ding.
There you go.
And see.
See.
Cool. Great. Thanks again for coming. We had a really great time.
Thank you, Michael.
Go see anything that Monkey Business Institute is doing. I'm Michael Bruno. I'm your host. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, madstheater.com. Thank you, Jim. And we will see you in 2 weeks. Go Bucky. Yay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.